Hello, I'm Graham Elwood, and welcome to on the tunes and supporting the Patreon. So everyone's cards just got charged, so the rewards, you'll start getting access to those soon. I'll put the new names in the credits in the next couple of days. The money clears usually about on the 5th of the month. And if you're just joined, if you put in September and you just got joined, so then I'll send out an email depending on what level you're at, and if you have the Skype interviews, I'll email you to set up an interview for that, and we'll do all that scheduling. So I want to talk about the horrific shooting that took place in Las Vegas, which it affects me personally because I've performed in Vegas a lot. I got friends that live there. It's just brutal. And, as a performer, when you're a stand-up comic or musician or something like that, and you travel, you kind of become a citizen of the world a little bit. Like I was born in Madison, Wisconsin. I moved to Chicago when I was about 11 or 12, and so I identify with the Midwest. And then I, grew up in Chicago and went to college in Arizona, but I've been living in Southern California for the last 20 years. So I identify with those places that I've lived and stuff, but I identify with so many different cities. I mean, I've performed in all these cities, and you spend so much time there. And, I worked at the Vegas Improv, which was at Harrah's for years. It closed down last year. And, the staff, some of the people at the hotel and in the casino and everything, had been working there for years. I had known them the entire 16, 17 years I worked there and stuff. And so this just, it's a bummer. But it just shows how many problems this country has. We don't want to deal with mental illness. We don't want to deal with gun control. I did a bonus video on Patreon, every time gun sales go up every time there's a mass shooting. And I want to talk about another problem in this country as it relates to this Las Vegas shooting. There's an article that came out today by Vigilante in The Intercept. Las Vegas official sets up GoFundMe to aid shooting victims. This is what happens in a country that doesn't have universal health care. So 50-some people died, over 500 were wounded, and they've had to go to all these hospitals, and there's all these great acts of heroism of first responders showing up, just regular people, just putting people in trucks and protecting people, all that stuff is, you hear about those stories and you're like, wow, there are good people out there, and we shouldn't let one lone lunatic spoil it. But let's first of all call it what it is. He's a terrorist. This is a terrorist. Just because he's not associated with ISIS or Al-Qaeda doesn't mean that this wasn't an act of terrorism. And I'm so sick of this. You're more likely to get shot by a white Christian male than you are by a terrorist in this country. So, and the fact now that we don't have, if we had real gun control, this wouldn't have happened. If we were addressing mental illness, this wouldn't have happened. And then when something like this does happen, so now that all these people that are getting treated are all going to be hit with this tragedy is going to get worse, because now they're going to be stuck with all these massive medical bills. So they had to send up a GoFundMe, the richest country in the history of the world. I'm sorry, if you're a progressive politician, you need to be going, and no, don't politicize this. No, fuck you, don't politicize this. If we don't politicize it, it's going to keep happening. Like Sandy Hook and the shooting in Colorado and Tucson, Arizona, and Orlando, and I can't even keep track of all of them, San Bernardino. It's going to keep happening. This guy was a legal gun owner. Yeah, so we should have more guns. That's the solution. All right, so after Sandy Hook, kids should have guns. Okay. So everyone at this concert, if everyone at this concert had a gun, they all just would have started shooting at the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay, and they're all sharpshooters. None of them would have missed. None of them would have sprayed into. Someone would have just been sitting in their hotel room, and boom, 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 bullets fly in. Oh yeah, that wouldn't have happened. Right, totally NRA. I get it. But we don't even have health care. This country needs serious work. I'm going to read some excerpts from this article. Clark County Commissioner Chair Steve Sisolak set up a GoFundMe to request charity for those injured in the massacre. Sisolak, who was running for governor as a Democrat, pitched in $10,000 and explained that he's currently at the county's Level 1 Trauma Center with victims. I'm Steve Sisolak, Clark County Commissioner Chair from Las Vegas. We are raising funds to assist the victims of tragic Las Vegas shooting. I'm at Clark County's only Level 1 Trauma Center with the victims and their families as we speak. Funds will be used to provide relief and financial support for the victims and families in this horrific mass shooting. Nevada's Republican Governor Brian Sandoval vetoed legislation over the summer that would have allowed Nevadans to buy into the state's Medicaid program. Asking strangers for charitable donations to tackle medical bills is ubiquitous in the United States. A report by NerdWallet released in 2015 found that $930 million of the $2 billion raised by GoFundMe, almost half, since its 2010 launch, had been related to medical bills. Yet NerdWallet's comprehensive survey of crowdfunding sites found that nearly 1 in 10 medical campaigns raised the full amount they asked for. Let's look at what some other countries have had to go through, some of our allies. In June, dozens of people were injured and 8 people were killed when London terrorists ran a van through a crowd and then proceeded to stab multiple people. That was awful. A van and a knife, not going to kill as many people as a gun. So when we say not linked to terrorists, we know what that's code for. Oh, he wasn't a brown Muslim. He wasn't a Muslim. So what, a white guy, oh, lone wolf. It's still an act of terrorism. It's all these white Christian terror cells. Just any guy out there that has a bunch of guns can lose his shit and go kill everybody. Nice suburb in Mesquite, Nevada. Maybe that's a terror cell now. No, just let everybody have guns. It works. In the United Kingdom, most healthcare is free. The National Health Service, erected in the ashes of World War II, provided comprehensive healthcare to all British residents. After the London attack, the NHS staff were on the scene within 6 minutes, aiding the injured. Last month, the NHS gave a special honor to the first responders, nurses, and doctors who aided the victims at the London terror attack. They highlighted the resilience and the compassion of the NHS staff, who time after time responded to victims who had suffered unimaginable injuries, putting the needs of those people first. This is the NHS at its best. Now, the first responders and everybody in Vegas, they're doing an amazing job. They're doing an amazing job. It's not their fault. The system is completely broken. We need universal health care. It's that simple. Can you imagine? And if you do have health care, if you like, I have Obamacare, and it saves me $3,000 a year. But if I got in some serious thing where I had to get $50,000, $100,000, because that's what it costs. I got an MRI. It was $2,500. Can you imagine? They got to do serious surgery on you because you have bullet wounds? It's going to be tens of thousands of dollars, if not more. I had a friend of mine whose kid got really sick. It was $1 million. He had to file bankruptcy. In the Manchester attack, American Kirk Cochran was killed. His wife, Melissa Cochran, returned to the U.S. with the need for continuous care. Because America doesn't have a national health service like the UK, she had to set up a GoFundMe to finance her treatment. She raised $83,000 and thankfully was able to do it. The last line in the article, it's the price of a free market approach to healthcare. We need universal healthcare. And anyone who tells you not to politicize healthcare as a result of this is an idiot. Don't politicize the guns. Politicize climate change. There's a bunch of hurricanes that just wiped out Puerto Rico, Florida, Houston. Politicize the shit out of it. Do you want it to change? Do you want it to change, or you don't want it to change? Do you want to be, everyone gets a gun and No background checks, no gun control, mental illness runs free. Nobody checks the mental illness. People can just have mental illness and get a gun, shoot up whoever they want. You can buy more guns. And then if you get wounded as a result of one of these mass shootings, which you are very likely to have happen to you if you live in America, this could happen to any one of us, anytime, any moment. Somebody just gets a gun, starts shooting shit up. They took all the guns away in Australia and in the 90s after a mass shooting. Guess what happened? Shootings dropped. Suicides dropped. That's weird. Weird. I'm pissed off and I'm sick of this. And if you're a pro-gun person, I've heard all your arguments. Post your bullshit in the comments below. I've heard them all before. I hope you are happy that this is what supporting the NRA and the gun lobby brings. This is what it brings. Right? This is what it brings. And listen to the media. If this would have been a black man shooting down at a rap concert, very different language would have come out of the media. Very different language. Black on black crime, violence in the black community is violent, rap music incurs violence. That's what we would have heard. Country music. Why aren't we saying that? Oh, these country music people tend to be more conservative. They all tend to own more guns. Country music makes gun violence happen. What if somebody said that? We couldn't say that, could we? Because it's a bunch of God-fearing white people in American flag hats, right? Terrorism is terrorism. We need gun control. I'm sick of this. I am sick of this. And I doubt it's going to do any good. We don't have any politicians with balls to go after the gun lobby. We don't have any politicians with a spine or a set of fucking balls to go after the gun lobby. And the gun lobby is a bunch of pussies. Thanks for watching the show.